Good morning. How many of you have jobs? Who has bills to pay? Who likes to make money? I know I do. Who in here has a checking account? Okay, well, good. Today, we are going to learn how to maintain our money in a checking account. It's very important to maintain your money so you do not spend any money that you do not have. I want you to think back to our last lesson where you learned a part of the check, how to write a check, how to write a deposit slip, and the importance of maintaining a checking account. Up here on the board at the class, there are some example transactions that we will go through with your help in completing. At the top here, we have our checkbook register, a sample check, and a sample deposit slip. Okay, so before we get started on spending any money, we have to know first how much money do we have in our accounts. And that starts with our beginning balance. So our first line here is where you will input your beginning balance. And your beginning balance will be $200 as of June 14th that I gave to you. So on the first line here, under the column that says date, you will put in the date of June 14th. And that's where you'll write that here. And the transaction description is a gift from your lovely teacher. Over here at the end is the column for your balance. So your balance as of right now is $200. So right here in this box here, you will input $200. Okay. Our next transaction is a check that was written on June 17th in the amount of $50 to HEB. And it's telling here which check number it is. So it's check number 101. So what we first have to do is input our date. And our date is what? Correct, June 17th. So here you're writing June 17th. And next you have to write in this line here, paid to the order of would be HEB, because that's where we spent our money. So here is where you'll input HEB. And this check amount is in the amount of $50. So on our line here for the amount is where you'll write your $50. And don't forget, on the line underneath here is where you will write out the amount of $50. Okay? And at last, you will make sure you sign your check. It's very important that you sign your check. So let's all sign our check. Okay. Do we all have that done? Your job. Okay. So now we can input this transaction in our log here. The first column is asking you for your check number. And your check number here is 101. So in this column here is where you will write that check number. In the next column, they're asking for your date. This check was written on when? Correct, June 17th. So here is where you'll write out June 17th. Our next column is asking you for your transaction description, which will be HEB. In this column is where you'll write out HEB. Okay? Then they're asking next column for the payment amount. Our check in this transaction is $50. So in this column here is where you'll write out your $50. Now this transaction is coming out of your account. So you'll need to subtract the $50 from your beginning balance of $200, which will give you $150 left. So under the balance column is where you input $150. Okay. Do y'all all have that down? Good job. Okay. Our next transaction is a deposit that were made into our account. We're adding money into our account. And this deposit was made on June 20th in the amount of $100. So we're going to come down here to our deposit slip. And the first thing that we need to do is input our date of June 20th. Okay. Then we need to input the amount of our deposit. So next to the line where it says currency is where you'll write your amount of $100. Okay, that's the only deposit that we're going to make. So that's going to be the total of our deposit. So at the bottom here, there's a box where you'll put the total amount of your deposit. So we'll write that same amount down here. Okay. Also at the bottom of your slip here, it's asking you for the total items that you are depositing into your account. We only have one, so in that box is where you'll write one. And on the side of the slip here is asking for your name and your address. So I'll make sure you write in your name and your address. Very important, so they'll know whose account to place this amount in. Very important. You don't want them to put this amount into anybody else's account. You want to make sure it goes into your account. Okay? Now we have to track this transaction as well, correct? Okay. Now we're going to take our info from this slip here and put it in our register. There is a check number for this slip, so in this column here we will not put anything. Next, we have the column for the date, and this deposit was made on June 20th. So we'll write in the column June 20th. Okay? Our next column is asking for the transaction description again. This transaction is a deposit. So here, you write in here, right here, deposit. Okay? And a deposit is in addition to your account. So you're adding it. So on the deposit here, you need to input your $100. Okay? And so now under the column for balance, we need to add this amount of $100 to our last balance of $150. So when we add those two, we get a balance of $250. Okay? So can anyone tell me what is the ending balance? Correct, it's $250. Good job. Okay. Now, as you came in the door, I gave you a number between a 1 and 4, and that's what I'm going to use. So that you can go into your groups, and you're going to complete the same type of transactions as a group. Okay? As you can see in the folder here, you have a credit card, a sheet for your check, a sheet of your deposit slip, and a checkup register. And taped to the back of your folder for each group are your transactions on the side here that you are to use these items here to complete. So if you can come together in your groups, there should only be 4 groups, and you can get started. I'm going to give you between 15 and 20 minutes to complete your transactions as a group. I want everyone to participate. It's a group project, not for 1 or 2. Everyone in the group should participate. Okay. So who can tell me, what did you learn today? Okay. Correct. Good job. You learned how to maintain a checking account. It can be a transaction can come in as a check, or as a deposit, or even as a credit card. Whichever one it is, you have to make sure that you're keeping track of each transaction in your register. Okay, now for homework, I want you to go home and imagine that your grandmother sponsored a shopping trip for you, a shopping spree, and she gave you $2,000 to spend however you like. It's all up to you. I want you to maintain and track your transactions in your register. And I want to see that in hand as you come into class on tomorrow. Okay? Anyone have any concerns or questions, comments? Okay. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.